I have covered a lot of different problems that people have faced when it comes to homeowners insurance in particular on this channel. And I think it's important for everybody to be aware of the situation, because right now homeowners insurance is such a weird situation. It's one of those things where it's just so much worse than it ever used to be. You pay far more than you ever used to have to pay and get far less in return than you ever used to get, which is not a very good combination for anything, specifically something that you have to buy. Because remember, you have to have homeowners insurance unless you have your house paid off. If you have a mortgage, homeowners insurance is mandatory. But as it stands, it turns out Citizens Insurance here in Florida, which is the insurance company of last resort for many of us, including myself, I have Citizens Insurance as well, they have actually paid out less claims than any other insurance company over the past year, with over half of the people who have made claims receiving absolutely nothing. Not even a partial claim, just zero. According to a Palm Beach Gardens ratings agency, about 17,000 claims, or 50.4% of filed claims with Citizens Property Insurance, were either denied for a variety of reasons or didn't meet the policyholder's deductible. And this is something we talked about before as well. When it comes to the deductible, so many people think that their insurance is going to cover different problems that they have. Come to find out that their deductible is so high on that particular coverage that they're actually not covered. And so this is really bad, because it's even worse than the private insurance companies, most notably State Farm and Allstate and their Florida subsidiaries. They had the highest rate of closing claims without a payment among private insurance companies last year at 46%. But Citizens now is at 50.4%, guys. So basically, it's flip a coin if you have Citizens Insurance, if you're going to get any money for a claim that you're making with them. But you know what else is interesting? As Floridians, if you are a homeowner here and you have home insurance in the state of Florida, in the year of 2022, you are least likely to get an insurance payout versus anybody living in any other state, even California, where they're having similar problems with insurance right now. So we now, in Florida, pay the highest amount of homeowners insurance over any other state, and you're also the least likely to get a payout if you actually need to make a claim. Interesting, huh? Especially since you're still required by law to have it. I think what Florida should do is they should abolish this. They should make it so that it's no longer required to have homeowners insurance if you have a mortgage. The problem then is you probably won't be able to get a mortgage anymore, because it's not really a state law or anything like that which is preventing people from not having insurance. It's the actual lenders themselves. The lenders say, yeah, we're not going to lend to you unless you have insurance. And if you drop insurance while you have a loan with us, then we'll put a forced place policy into play, and you're going to pay for that on our behalf. It's mostly just going to cover us. And this is a problem that is steadily getting worse, because over the past 5 years, the range of citizens not paying claims has gone from about 40% up to 50% where we stand today. This neighborhood is like severely under construction, so I'm gonna have to step over a block. And also, to make matters even worse, we don't even know the reasons why Citizens pays out fewer claims than any other insurance company. All we can do is speculate. Some of the theories are things like, well, Citizens, in fact, they say here, statewide, about 30% of all homeowners insurance claims filed after Hurricane Helene were closed because of flooding. So a lot of people go ahead and make a claim and they think that they're covered, and turns out that the insurance company, whether legitimately or not, is able to pin flood damage on the property and therefore can deny your claim. But let's not forget about that deductible, guys. These Citizens Insurance policies typically can carry a deductible amount of up to 10%, which can equal tens of thousands of dollars after a hurricane especially. Here's something else interesting to note about Citizens Insurance. The company actually doesn't track the reasons why claims are denied. You would think that they do. I'm sure that's internal data that they actually have, but they probably don't want to share that publicly. And don't forget that all of these claim denials are happening in synchronization with insurance rates skyrocketing, not only across Florida, but across the country as well. Citizens Insurance has already requested to increase their rates here in Florida by 14% next year in 2025. And of course, with the new insurance laws, Citizens is actively shedding policies and pushing people onto usually more expensive policies. It's very rare people are going to get a better deal than Citizens. So typically the policies are the same amount, if not more, because if it's within 20% of the cost of Citizens and they want you off, they can push you off. By state law, they have that right. And they've gotten rid of a lot of policies so far. In fact, it went up to 1.4 million at one point, and now it's down to about 1 million as we're winding down 2024. Citizens Insurance is also instituting a more aggressive home inspection program, which requires homeowners to undertake costly repairs in order to even get coverage, and even in one case, they dropped somebody because they had a trampoline in their backyard. And I've also heard other stories of people being dropped for installing solar panels on their roof, or for having too large of a tree in the wrong spot if you don't chop it down. They will not cover you if they're not satisfied with that inspection. And even though it's more difficult to sue insurance companies than previously due to our laws here in Florida, there's still hundreds of lawsuits that have been filed in the court this year to sue Citizens Insurance. And like I discussed with Sean Kling on that video about insurance I did about a month and a half ago, it's not like you can't still sue an insurance company. It's just that if you are going to sue, the amount needs to be for a pretty high amount, because otherwise you're not even going to be able to get an attorney to take on the case, first of all. And they need to be very confident that they're going to be able to win that case. And if you don't have the wallet to fight a big, long, drawn-out legal battle like these insurance companies do, then chances are it's not even going to be worth it for you to sue. Citizens Insurance was actually profitable last year in 2023, raking in a $746.5 million profit. Another thing that makes Citizens different than other insurance companies is that Citizens is immune from bad faith lawsuits, cases in which an insurer can pay more in damages for behaving improperly. So under state law, the cost of these cases can't be passed on to policyholders. So not only are insurance companies in general harder to sue in Florida, you literally can't sue Citizens for bad faith. One of the biggest dangers of all of this is Citizens is now potentially setting the precedent for other insurance companies to act similarly moving forward, which is why you see the insurance claim denial rate so high here in Florida. Check this out. We have a house for sale right here. They're currently asking almost $3.1 million for sale. It's also available for rent for $14,500 a month. They bought this house back in October of 2019 for $1.375 million, then turned around and listed it for sale back in July this year for about $3.6 million, have already dropped $500,000 off the price tag, guys. This is a common denominator you're seeing here with a lot of these expensive Miami houses. They just were asking way too much money. No one's buying, no one's renting. These houses are just sitting empty. Now, even with all this going on, you have stories coming out from Realtor.com saying things like right now might be the best time to buy a house in the last 5 years. Well, 5 years ago was 2019. I know it's almost 2025, but still, I'm pretty sure it was better to buy a house back in 2019, 2020, even 2021 was a better year to buy than in 2024 when we're just purely looking at prices. But I want to look at their reasoning and see if any of this has any grounds in reality, or they're just trying to desperately drum up sales for real estate agents. So the first thing that they say is the housing stock is way up, which is true. We're almost at pre-pandemic levels of inventory right now, actually. We're about 15 or 20% below pre-pandemic levels of inventory nationwide. And in some areas of the country, it's already at or above pre-pandemic levels of inventory. They say that there's roughly 4.3 months of inventory on the market, according to National Association of Realtors, and this is the longest stint of 4+ months of supply in the last 5 years, which means that homes are sitting on the market longer and not selling, just like the one I showcased to you here just a few minutes ago. We have new listings right now up 4.9% year over year. So we're seeing inventory rise at the same time home sales fall, which is actually a fantastic combination for home buyers. So from that perspective, I do agree that it's getting to be a better time to buy. Is it the best time in 5 years? Absolutely not. The title of the story is absolutely misleading, but I do see that what they're saying is it's better to buy now than it was, say, 2 years ago in most cases. So because there's more inventory, this gives home buyers a lot of extra choices, which is what people have wanted. You know, part of the problem when we had the big run up in home prices, that there just wasn't that many homes available to choose from, and that's why we saw bidding wars, because we had low interest rates, people were flush with cash, they were able to pay over asking price for these homes, and the reason for doing it was simple, because it was the only one available in the neighborhood, for example. But almost everywhere, those days are over now. Multiple offers have largely become a thing of the past, except for a few pockets of the country. And not only is more inventory good from just a pure choice perspective of having more selection to find a better home that's suitable for your needs, but it's also good because it gives you negotiating power. When there's multiple homes for sale in a neighborhood, you have options, and the sellers need to reconcile that, and usually how it's reconciled is by accepting a lower offer price. So it might finally be possible for home buyers to find a home that they actually want to buy for a price they can afford. We're getting back to those times right now, which is actually a very good thing. Is it the best time in 5 years? No. But is it better than it was 2 years ago? Absolutely. Of course, all this extra inventory means sellers are lowering prices too, because people need to sell. In most cases, when people list a house on the market, their intention is to sell. Sometimes they're just out fishing and looking for a stupid buyer to come along and pay a crazy price. You see that all the time here in Miami. But in more normal, traditional markets, that's not something you see so much, and people do need to sell for one reason or another. And if it's not selling at the current price, you can expect to see the price come down. Right now, the number of houses on the market with a price reduction is at 18.6%. And the overall inventory with price cuts is 2.2% higher than what we saw back in even October of 2017 through October of 2019. So we're seeing more price cuts now than we even saw pre-pandemic. And the main reason for that is because the prices have gotten so out of control, guys. Like back then, home prices were more in line with reality, and prices were already starting to come down in most places back then because the housing market was already sort of overheated. It had already gotten kind of as expensive as it could have gotten. And what turned that around was the pandemic. It was all of the injection of cash into the housing market and into the economy. But if it wasn't for that phenomenon happening in 2020, we would have already seen home prices kind of peak back in 2019, maybe at some point in 2020, and start to level off or even come down slightly from there, because that's what we were already seeing. So now you can have situations where, you know, the house can have a 10, 15% price cut or more, and as a buyer, you can step in and offer even less than the new asking price, and a lot of times still make a deal. In fact, this story gives an example of someone doing exactly that, and on top of all of that, the seller even agreed to cover part of their closing costs, which means that sellers are a lot more motivated today than they have been in years. So from that point of view, they have a point. And one other extra added benefit of having more inventory is it gives people more time. More time to just wait and see, more time to not feel that FOMO, more time to not have the heat on and the pressure from your real estate agent or your mortgage lender saying, well, you know, we haven't found a house in 3 months, and you know, you should make an offer now, because otherwise who knows how many more months it's going to be until we find another one. Those days are over too. And anybody who's still shopping based on that FOMO now in 2024 is completely lost. You're just not paying attention. You're not seeing the rhythm of the housing market today and how these shifts are taking place. Nobody should be feeling FOMO in 2024. Everybody should be patiently looking and waiting for the right house to come along, and when it does, at a price and interest rate that you can easily and comfortably afford, that's when you pull the trigger. Because the reality is, not everybody's going to wait for a housing crash. Not everybody's going to wait for prices to come down. And in some markets, prices may not even come down. They might stay this high indefinitely. And by the way, don't forget that if you need a real estate agent, whether you are a home buyer or a home seller, I got you covered. All you got to do is use the link in my description. I can set you up with a highly regarded real estate agent in your area completely for free. So I always offer that. Make sure you use it if you need to. They talked to one real estate agent who had a client in Colorado, and they kind of got burned out searching for a house between 2020 and 2022. They lost out to several cash buyers, which was a typical scenario a lot of people faced back then. And now in 2024, they were able to revisit a home multiple times, bring a contractor to even check for potential upgrades and negotiate repairs, all because the seller was willing to wait for a solid offer. So waiting actually paid off for these people. I've heard from both sides, guys. I've heard from some people saying, oh, Michael, I'm so glad I didn't listen to you. I bought a house and my life is great now, even though your house is probably worth less in most cases. But if you don't care because you needed a place to live, then that's fine. And I've also heard the opposite where, oh, I'm so glad I did wait because now price is already down 15% in my neighborhood and now there's more places for sale than before. And the reality is nobody should be listening to me telling you what to do, guys. And I never tell people what to do. I think everybody should buy the house at the time that feels good for them. You know, I never said that everybody should just sit on the sidelines and wait forever and wait for a better deal. Only you know what a better deal is because you live in your neighborhood. I don't. You're the one that looks at how many houses come up for sale and what they're selling for. I don't know that stuff. So you need to be the judge of it. The value I'm trying to bring here on the channel is to give you the ability to decide when is the right time. You know, when are you seeing the signs that you need to see in your local housing market so that it is a good deal. That's what I hope people take away from these videos. So buyers actually have a lot to look forward to right now because in many areas of the country, it's turning into a buyer's market. So that's a good thing. That's what people want to see. This is what everybody's been waiting for. And those who have been patient, most likely it's going to pay off for the vast majority of those people. So if you're somebody that has kind of given up on buying a house over the past couple of years because it's just gotten too overheated, it's okay to start looking again. I'm not saying you should jump in. I'm not agreeing with this story saying it's the best time to buy in 5 years, but it is better than it was 2 years ago. That I will say hands down. Even if you live in an area where prices haven't come down, at the very least, you probably have more houses to choose from, and that one factor alone makes it a better time to buy than it was 2 years ago. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.